Educate Philippines recognizes that Filipinos highly value education. As a matter of fact, education is a non-negotiable aspect of our culture. Parents always prioritize their children's education above other things. Teachers dedicate their lives to imparting knowledge to the students the best way they can. Students demand relevant knowledge for their academic and professional success to enable them to contribute to national and global development. It is for these reasons that Educate Philippines offers its services to academic institutions in the Philippines to provide the right technology to teach and learn online. Educate Philippines exists to tackle the lack of LMS in institutions of basic and higher learning and the problem in connecting the teachers and students to the internet.
To succeed today, organizations need to adapt and evolve with new skills and capabilities, from machine learning to design thinking, blockchain to business skills. And the need is massive. 74% of organizations know that reskilling their workforce is important in the next 12 to 18 months, but only 10% feel ready to address this trend. At Skillsoft, our goal is to democratize learning. So we set out to create a new kind of platform based on a fundamental belief that every person has the potential to be amazing. The result? A digital learning platform driven by flexibility and personalization. It's powered by AI, but has people at its heart. Skillsoft Percipio helps learners accomplish goals, celebrate their journey, and unleash their edge. How does Percipio do it? It's all about the journey. Aspire Journeys are pre-curated, role-based, and skill-based learning paths that help companies prepare employees for the high-demand roles needed today and tomorrow, like agile development, data science, cloud computing, and leadership development. AI makes it easy. Breadth of content is great, but you need curation and customization to make it useful. Our AI-driven homepage keeps things fresh, engaging, and relevant for each and every learner. Search in human speak. Percipio's search functionality uses Google BERT natural language processing AI, which means learners spend more time learning and less time searching. Badge Up. Learners celebrate, record, and socialize their achievements with verifiable digital badges that are theirs to keep. Over 5 million earned and counting. Seamless experience everywhere. Percipio lets users learn in whatever increment they have time for, bouncing between media formats, devices, and collaboration tools like MS Teams seamlessly, without losing track or progress along the way. They can even learn while in the flow of work with our embedded learning synchronized assistant, ELSA for short. Customization and integration. Administrators can customize learning tracks, post content from other providers, and integrate into any LMS. We make it easy to make it your own. Our users already love the results they're getting from Percipio. And that's just the beginning. As the market evolves, so will Percipio, with more capabilities, more integration, and more ease of use with every iteration. Each step brings us that much closer to our mission, to democratize learning and help organizations, teams, and individuals unleash their edge.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm here to talk about Educate. If you don't know what Educate is, well, it's a solution to the current educational problem here in the Philippines. It all started when the world got screwed over by the virus. No one was allowed to meet face-to-face. That includes classes. So Aldrin, the CEO of Educate, decided to develop a system that would help the Philippines with their educational problems. With his expertise working in Australia, he brought about Educate, a one-stop place for online learning to be a solution to the current problems of learners and educators. This includes a learning management system, hosting, maintenance, training, support, and many more to provide the right tools and expertise to make distance learning simple and easy. We believe that no Filipino students should be left behind. So, what are you waiting for? We welcome you to the Educate family. The pace of information sharing feels daunting these days, but digital signage can keep your entire campus informed in just minutes. With digital signage, you can remotely manage a network of signs, share events, and announcements. Keep your campus safe by publishing your health protocols and emergency notifications, and help students navigate. If you choose to, various departments can have access to their own digital signage, specific to their audience and communication needs. Or, with a cloud-based system, you have the option of controlling your messaging from one location. Whether you are striving to support distance learning or eventually attendance at sporting events, or to draw attention to your esteemed guest speakers, digital signage can make it much easier. Several applications of digital signage in schools such as digital bulletin boards, educational content, digital directories, digital menu boards, financial literacy, and seasonal events. For more information, visit www.Intel-Soln.com, an exclusive partner of EarthServe Consulting and Solutions in the Philippines.
To succeed today, organizations need to adapt and evolve with new skills and capabilities, from machine learning to design thinking, blockchain to business skills. And the need is massive. 74% of organizations know that reskilling their workforce is important in the next 12 to 18 months, but only 10% feel ready to address this trend. At Skillsoft, our goal is to democratize learning. So we set out to create a new kind of platform based on a fundamental belief that every person has the potential to be amazing. The result? A digital learning platform driven by flexibility and personalization. It's powered by AI, but has people at its heart. Skillsoft Percipio helps learners accomplish goals, celebrate their journey, and unleash their edge. How does Percipio do it? It's all about the journey. Aspire journeys are pre-curated, role-based, and skill-based learning paths that help companies prepare employees for the high-demand roles needed today and tomorrow, like agile development, data science, cloud computing, and leadership development. AI makes it easy. Breadth of content is great, but you need curation and customization to make it useful. Our AI-driven homepage keeps things fresh, engaging, and relevant for each and every learner. Search in human speak. Percipio's search functionality uses Google BERT natural language processing AI, which means learners spend more time learning and less time searching. Badge Up. Learners celebrate, record, and socialize their achievements with verifiable digital badges that are theirs to keep. Over 5 million earned and counting. Seamless experience everywhere. Percipio lets users learn in whatever increment they have time for, bouncing between media formats, devices, and collaboration tools like MS Teams seamlessly, without losing track or progress along the way. They can even learn while in the flow of work with our embedded learning synchronized assistant, ELSA for short. Customization and integration. Administrators can customize learning tracks, post content from other providers, and integrate into any LMS. We make it easy to make it your own. Our users already love the results they're getting from Percipio. And that's just the beginning. As the market evolves, so will Percipio, with more capabilities, more integration, and more ease of use with every iteration. Each step brings us that much closer to our mission, to democratize learning and help organizations, teams, and individuals unleash their edge.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm here to talk about Educate. If you don't know what Educate is, well, It's a solution to the current educational problem here in the Philippines. It all started when the world got screwed over by the virus. No one was allowed to meet face to face. That includes classes. So Aldrin, the CEO of Educate, decided to develop a system that would help the Philippines with their educational problems. With his expertise working in Australia, he brought about Educate, a one-stop place for online learning to be a solution to the current problems of learners and educators. This includes a learning management system, hosting, maintenance, training, support, and many more to provide the right tools and expertise to make distance learning simple and easy. We believe that no Filipino students should be left behind. So, what are you waiting for? We welcome you to the Educate family.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your virtual presence and welcome to the 12th session of the UP College of Education second series of webinar presentations. The webinars aim to reach out to educators who continue to do their best to cope with the challenges posed by the pandemic to the educational system. Within the next 50 minutes, I'll be sharing with you online classroom experiences and challenges met by some teachers in the country, as well as inputs from educators elsewhere. Based on the teachers' inputs that will make up the body of this presentation, I will conclude my discussion with insights, which I am hoping will serve as your takeaways from this morning's session. The remaining 10 minutes of the time I am given will be allotted to the question and answer segment of this presentation. It has been 9 months since we were confronted with a compelling need to change the way we conduct our day-to-day lives. As teachers, we were initially caught by the sudden need to wind up the previous academic year. We all had to hurriedly find a way to end the academic term without sacrificing the attainment of our instructional objectives and the quality of student learning. It was challenging, but somehow, despite the challenges, we managed and found a way to wrap up lessons and help our students move forward. Not long after, it was time to prepare for the next academic year. While there were calls to close schools altogether, we knew we could not give up academic year 2020-2021. Given the impossibility of conducting face-to-face classes, changes that required major preparations had to be made. But there were questions that we first needed to address. The first was, what do we prepare? Second, once we have identified what to prepare, how do we go about the preparations? And third, when preparations are done, how do we enable students to return to school and continue their studies without compromising their safety and that of their teachers? As we moved forward, we encountered lapses, misses, and failures, but we also managed to make modest gains, successes, and achievements. As I earlier said, these and the lessons we can derive from them will be the focus of this sharing with just the following targets. First, to identify common experiences and challenges language teachers encounter in delivering their lessons in the context of the new normal. Second, to present ways by which the identified challenges may be addressed. Third, to derive insights from the shared experiences. And fourth, to strengthen our resolve to remain effective facilitators of learning. Teachers who are not only equipped to teach, but also inspired and determined to address the concerns in their virtual language classroom. To accomplish these webinar objectives, I thought it was best to draw and learn from authentic experiences of teachers in the field. Hence, the body of my sharing will begin with inputs from teachers who, like us, were forced by circumstances to transition to remote learning. Thereafter, I'll share some relevant literature intended to serve as a resource from which you can draw and at the same time use as a guide in addressing the needs of your language students. Today is December 19. There are only 12 days separating us from year 2020 or 2021. It's a good time to take stock of how year 2020 has been. So let's recall together some of the major events that make it a year we will never forget. Year 2020 literally began with a boom. Taal volcano erupted and disrupted the lives of those living in the southern Tagalog region. Around the same time, news about a public health concern, something about a highly infectious and deadly disease, was already circulating. But for one reason or the other, we tended not to pay much attention to it until the first actual COVID-19 case in the country was reported. On 30 January 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a public health emergency concern. On the 11th of March, less than 2 months later, the organization declared it as a worldwide pandemic. That was the time we all realized that the threat was right in our midst and we were into a serious trouble. In relation to school activities, UNESCO reported that by May, schools closed in 185 countries and the education of over 1.5 billion students was disrupted. Fast forward to today in the Philippines, still according to UNESCO, 28,451,212 learners across levels, that is from preschool to university settings, remain affected by the change in the way classes are conducted. What impact did the physical closure of schools have on education? Regardless of subject area, the major effect has been on teaching and lesson delivery. There was unexpected, instantaneous, and radical change in the way we conduct our classes. Virtual classrooms became the most viable alternative. From the traditional classroom we were all used to, we turned to the generally untried online format. This resulted in the shift from a face-to-face classroom environment to a home-based classroom. From a teacher-learner orientation to a teacher-learner plus an adult-at-home situation. The great majority of us were not ready, but under the circumstances, the only way to go was to prepare for the online mode of teaching delivery. It was the essential change that would allow learning to proceed. In the context of language teaching, there were likewise concomitant issues. First, language courses, regardless of the target language, are generally designed for face-to-face learning. I'm saying generally because long before COVID-19 struck, there were already online language courses, often designed for EFL and other foreign language classes. Moreover, there were also distance learning programs offered by open universities. Second, language teaching methods and learning activities are more attuned toward use in the traditional face-to-face classroom setting. Language activities aligned with this practice require students to actively engage and participate in communication exchanges. As language teachers, we are pretty much aware that activities of this nature are somewhat constrained when the learners are physically distant from each other. In order to make things work, a good amount of imagination and creativity on the part of the teacher is required. In addition, there were also issues in relation to materials. Teaching and learning materials were mostly in print form. Although online resources were already being utilized pre-COVID-19 days, they were often used as supplements to print materials. Back then, the lack or sometimes absence of materials in some school settings was clearly indicative of an even worse scenario. In terms of student assessment, on the other hand, there was much reliance on classroom-based performance. Seemingly then, the principle of classroom-based performance is inapplicable and unsuitable to current realities, considering that communication engagements are difficult to execute given the physical distance that separates the learners and limits their social interaction. Compounding these concerns are other equally important issues. One, the online mode of teaching delivery is pretty much an uncharted course to most of us. Yes, teachers are used to utilizing technology to access resources to enhance their teaching, but not as the major teaching and communication tool. Second, and this seems to be a major challenge, especially in the Philippine context, is the difficulty of obtaining the necessary electronic gadgets. Communication devices are not readily available to all learners, and even to some of their teachers. And thirdly, while devices may not be a problem to some, internet connectivity is. It is either lacking or unstable. What were some of the challenges that we all faced at the start of all this? I identified 7 concerns that we needed to address to be able to proceed. Like the unfolding of a lesson, the challenges came in phases or stages. The first 3 of the 7 are the concerns before or prior to the opening of classes, such as the identification of the essentials or course guide preparation. Next is the location, curation, and development of materials for online use. And third is the training that will give teachers familiarity with the use of conferencing and other online tools and applications. In connection with these challenges, appropriate actions were taken. First is the rethinking of the scope or lesson coverage. This was necessary because of the shortened academic year and the anticipated challenges to conducting online classes. Hence, the K-12's learning competencies were reduced to the most essential learning competencies or MELCs. For tertiary and graduate level classes, course syllabi were revisited to determine the most critical and vital topics that must stay in the course guides. Next, learning materials were developed based on the modified course guide. Modules were written and produced in both printed and digitized formats. Lessons were also recorded for television and radio broadcast. Teachers were trained. Teacher-written materials were produced and distributed to the learners. Next, we have the next 3 of the 7 concerns, which I label as the during or while teaching concerns. The very first of which is how to create and maintain an online classroom where students feel at ease and language skills development is naturally promoted. Next is the identification of strategies that promote learning in an online environment. Then, there's the need to bridge the physical distance and stay connected in order to build a sense of an online community where all concerned, the learners, their teachers, and the parents or other adults at home who can provide help to the learner feel they belong to. The first quarter for basic education students and the first semester for tertiary and graduate level students have just ended. The conclusion of the academic term is an opportune time for us to take stock of what we've so far done, examine the results they yielded, and on the basis of those, prepare for the upcoming quarter and semester. Now is the best time to look back at our home classroom experiences and reflect on them in preparation for our next step. We have reached the post-teaching stage of the first quarter and the first semester. This is the last of the 7 concerns. Now we're asking, how did we fare in doing our job? What experiences did we have? What challenges did we encounter? Did we make some gains? What are they? What lessons did we learn from our experiences and challenges? To answer these questions, I sought the help of some teachers. Who are they? They are the 32 out of 45 teachers who agreed to accomplish a 13-item Google survey form prepared for this purpose. The group was predominantly 23 to 40 years old, mostly female, junior and senior high school English teachers, and Filipino language teachers as well from both public and private schools in Metro Manila. There were also a few from Western and Central Visayas. Their teaching experience ranges from less than 5 up to 20 years, and they are currently conducting their language classes online. The group is obviously not representative of the entire nation and the widely varying school settings. Apparently, it is also one-sided, one voice of the many that we need to listen to. It would have been most ideal if equally important inputs from students, their parents, and even from language supervisors and school administrators were elicited. But given the constraints within which the preparations for the sharing were done, I asked for your understanding. The intent was mainly to elicit some feedback and listen to actual voices from the field. As I present the information the teacher shared with me, I strongly encourage you to recall, or if you have a pen and paper within your reach at the moment, to list down your own virtual classroom experiences. I invite you to compare and contrast your own experiences, whether good or otherwise, your practices, your problems, as well as your successes in your respective virtual language classrooms. What are some of the teachers' online teaching experiences and challenges? First, let's focus on materials. With a change in the mode of teaching delivery, it is to be expected that teachers rely to a great extent on materials that are available online. Many of their course readings, language games, exercises, video clips, and other learning materials came from online sources. Nevertheless, and this is something I would like to emphasize, there were teachers who said they wrote their own materials, even if commercially published and DepEd materials were available. I failed to ask them, but most probably their efforts were directed toward production of supplementary exercises for their students. Unfortunately, there were also teacher respondents who expressed concerns regarding the materials they used. And this could be another reason why they opted to write their own materials. According to a good number of the teachers, they encountered problems with the materials available to them. The most frequently mentioned problems were inappropriate activities. For example, they were culture-bound, too difficult for the students, or sometimes they required much time to accomplish. There are other concerns pertaining to conceptual errors, grammar errors, poor visuals, too many activities, and vague directions. Able to recognize these problems, the teachers took action and sought ways that enabled them to resolve their concerns. What specific actions did they take? The teachers said they modified, adapted, and redesigned activities to suit their context. They did research, consulted reference materials, and corrected errors. They selected the most appropriate activities from among the options available to them. They recast or reworded texts to make sure that students' poor or non-comprehension does not make the challenges even more overwhelming and difficult to address. How were lessons delivered in the virtual language classroom? According to most of the teachers, they interspersed their lectures with PowerPoint presentations. Some had teacher-led discussions following the question and answer format. Now, note that these are not totally new ways of presenting and delivering lessons. We were all doing this even before the pandemic. A few said they used discussion boards and pre-recorded videos, practices that became more common when we started holding virtual classes. The foreign language teachers in the group, on the other hand, naturally had one-on-one lectures. Given these types of lesson delivery, were there activities that the teachers found particularly useful? The answer is yes. And they said the top 3 activities they found most helpful are language production activities, oral drills, and simple video production. Except for simple video production, the other 2 identified helpful activities were commonly used even before. On the other hand, those that were found least helpful are pen and paper activities, online exercises, and pair and small group activities. It would be very interesting to probe into these responses to find out what specific difficulties teachers and students encountered in relation to them and identify ways by which they can be addressed. In relation to assessment, some teachers consider the following as the most helpful techniques. Having performance tasks top the list, followed by practical activities, then regular assignments. On the other hand, pen and paper tests and written reflections did not work well for some teachers. Assignments were neither found helpful because not all students submit them. In addition to practices and experiences regarding materials, methods, and assessment, what else did the teacher share? First, they said students were lacking in requisite skills. Reading comprehension is a problem. Note, however, that this is a major concern whether classes are held in a virtual or in a physical classroom. Or how can students do their schoolwork if they cannot make sense of the materials they are using? This is where materials adaptation and simplification will come in. Teachers also see problems in the platform being used, saying that online teaching is difficult and that not everyone is meant for it. They sense a limitation. According to them, the teaching and learning processes are restricted because teachers and learners are unable to exchange in lively and meaningful interactions. They also doubt its effectiveness in promoting learning despite much teachers' efforts. Similarly, they see a lack which none of us can contest. Not all students and teachers have the necessary resources, and this naturally affects the quality of both teaching and learning performance. It's not all bad news. The teachers also shared some good news. So note that the teacher's outlook is not totally bleak. They actually provided a good number of optimistic views. Some of them said that while having virtual classes is difficult, it's not impossible. Teachers just need to explore and help students adapt to the change. They regard technology as the spice of language classes, particularly through the use of a wide variety of online materials such as video clips, podcasts, games, and other interesting materials that leave little room for monotony and boredom. Other advantages mentioned by the teachers are the following. Remote learning lifts a burden from the teacher's shoulders as less classroom management is required. Now, this statement may be true in relation to physical classroom management. However, we must all remember that virtual classes require virtual classroom management, which can be even more challenging to some teachers. Another encouraging realization of teachers is that remote learning challenges students to be more accountable of their own learning because less teacher supervision is necessary. This view is reiterated by the statement that says, self-directed activities promote independent learning. Remote learning is actually one very good and authentic opportunity to develop students' learning strategies. The teachers also arrived at a number of realizations. They suggested that the following actions be taken. Allot more time to materials preparation. Equip teachers better through trainings on materials preparation and technology utilization. Use practical types of assessments to help students realize the relevance and application of what they're learning to real life and create a strong home-school collaboration to support the needs of the learners. Along with certain desired actions to be taken, the teachers also expressed caution regarding virtual teaching. Someone expressed the view that asynchronous web-based instruction is doable among tertiary level students. A statement probably made because older and more mature learners are expected to be more responsible and able to do things independently. The second view is a suggestion for teachers to be more careful with their evaluation criteria, as giving much weight to digital tools will disadvantage students who have limited access to them. Finally, there is a view that the current setup is not conducive to learning, as the teacher must constantly monitor how students are doing. But then, if we think about it, monitoring of students has to happen in any type of classroom setting. Before we proceed to the discussion of some ways through which online teaching may be made to work better for students, let us summarize the changes that have taken place in the way we conduct our language classes. The very first one has something to do with the learning space. From the old public space, which is the school classroom, to a personal space, which can be one small corner or an entire room at home, where the usual physical or face-to-face interactions have turned to virtual or online interactions. The major communication channel has changed from the usual classroom tools, like the chalk and the blackboard, the whiteboard and the whiteboard markers, to technological devices and the internet. Second is on lesson delivery. In the old normal, the usual practice is to have a one-size-fits-all system of delivering lessons where students listen to the same lecture, do the same activities and homeworks, as well as take the same exam. Under the new normal, there is room for more individualized and differentiated learning where students' unique needs, paces, home contexts, resources are better recognized and must therefore be addressed. Hence, different resources and methods need to be used to address particular learning needs. The third change pertains to the responsibility in the teaching-learning process. From the teacher being mainly responsible of the learner in school, we now have the teacher and the learner, with the latter being given additional distance by a capable adult or adults at home. In other words, a household member or members may help and become active participants in the teaching learning process. Finally, the fourth change pertains to learning assessment and its purpose. Before, long summative tests were a common component of assessment, and the purpose it served was assessment of learning, or generally, it was meant for grading purposes. Now, there is more focus on formative assessment geared more toward assessment for learning. This means assessment is aimed not only at determining student achievement, but also at decision making on the part of the teacher. Its results are meant to inform the teacher if there is a need to reteach, provide more practice, or proceed to the next lesson. Despite all the challenges we enumerated, or rather, despite all the changes we enumerated, the following things remain as if the pandemic was not there. First of all is the aim to promote and allow learning to take place. Then, there is the need to plan lessons carefully in order that students can interact, exchange ideas, connect, and collaborate with the members of the learning community. The need for the teacher to provide as much support as can be provided, and his or her judicious use of available tools in educating the target learners also remain. Now, given the teacher's shared experiences, the identified challenges, the changes in lesson delivery, and the things that have remained the same in the way we prepare for and conduct our classes, what can we do to make online teaching work better for our students? First of all, just as we were doing under the old normal, we should always prepare carefully. We need to map out our teaching objectives, learning activities, and learning assessments logically. How do we do this? By planning or determining which aspects of the course are suitable for synchronous and asynchronous delivery. We determine what students can and cannot efficiently do with or without our virtual guidance. What they can do on their own, we allow them to do, or rather, what they can do on their own, we allow them to do asynchronously. What they can't, we do with them during our synchronous sessions. Mapping out of our teaching plan necessitates linking or making clear connections between and among topics to ensure the logical and building up of topics in our lessons. Finally, careful planning can be done through pondering, reflecting, and prioritizing in order for us to arrive at realistic expectations from our students. Second, we must plan well. We must devise a game plan, but we should always be ready to reassess and adapt to immediate needs. We should also master effective virtual classroom management skills. We can accomplish this through the following: by being conscious of the time and allotting it judiciously to our teaching and learning activities, monitoring progress and completion of tasks, by giving short breaks to students so they can rest their eyes from computer glare, eat their snacks, stand up and walk, take restroom breaks, and then return to the classroom with increased attention and renewed energy. In addition, chunking passive learning content delivery into 10 to 15 minutes of content, paying close attention to learners, keeping them engaged, and adapting teaching methods whenever necessary are other management techniques teachers can use. Third, we must engage students all the time. We should be able to help them stay engaged by having a healthy balance of interaction types. This can be achieved if we clarify goals and give our expectations at the start of the lesson, have small group activities, such as icebreakers to prepare students for active learning, small group discussions in breakout rooms, reflection activities using the chat function, and active participation through online polling. One very good way of wrapping up a session is synthesizing or summarizing the discussion to highlight critical takeaways from the lesson. Initially, we can demonstrate how this is done to our students. Then, little by little, we can ask them to do the synthesis themselves. It then becomes an effective way of checking how much they are able to get from the lesson and a means to good and authentic language practice. Fourth, we should facilitate learning. We need to engage our students and encourage them to participate and reach their learning objectives. There are very specific ways through which this can be done. We can probe to assess students' comprehension. We can redirect by asking questions, giving students a chance to respond, then we clarify if necessary. Bridging and referring back is an effective way to connect previous to current lessons in order to show the interconnection and progression of topics. Shifting perspective encourages viewing ideas from different points of view, thereby promoting higher order thinking skills development. Summarizing highlights key points. It helps learners arrive at conclusions or build upon them. Fifth, we must demonstrate knowledge and confidence to promote intellectual stimulation as we exhibit not only passion for our subject but also teaching confidence. In the virtual classroom, it is important that we are familiar with our teaching platform, that we know our content, that we use the appropriate tools and equipment, that we prepare for and perhaps even practice our delivery, and that we pay attention to things that exhibit teaching presence. Sixth, and finally, we need to strategize well. Minero suggests two sets of strategies, those that apply best to synchronous sessions and those that work well in asynchronous sessions. For the former, she has the following suggestions. 1. Translate traditional discussion strategies to live video chats. An example of these discussion strategies is the spider web discussion done via Google Meet. What's the procedure? First, students answer independently pre-assigned questions before the live class. Then, they share their answers as jump-off point for a broader class discussion at the start of the synchronous session. As this happens, the teacher listens and tracks the flow of the discussion in a spider web. Afterwards, the web is shared with the students who reflect on what they learned from and about each other, as well as from the experience. Aside from the ever-familiar spider web, the think, pair, share activity may also be adapted. Here, the teacher gives a prompt, breaks class into small groups, and assigns them to breakout rooms. Students will then discuss and record their answers on a shared Google Doc, allowing them to share ideas by writing or reading aloud. The lesson is then concluded with the students from each group sharing their answers when they return to the whole class. Still another is the conversion of the show and tell activity into think, write, share. Here, the teacher asks students to have a photo, a painting, or a drawing about a particular topic and gives them one or two guide questions that invite different answers. Students will then respond by writing their answers to the guide questions and afterwards share their answers with the whole class. Another strategy for synchronous sessions is the use of the available tools and application features. For example, we can use the chat and pause features to check for understanding. Students can ask and answer questions and practice writing sentences through chat. They can use emojis to signify their understanding or otherwise of a concept. One advantage derived from this activity is that students are provided with a good amount of incidental keyboard and spelling practice. Third is by having a flipped classroom that helps stimulate deeper discussion. How is this done? First, the teacher introduces new content asynchronously through recorded videos or other activities that are available online. The students will then summarize the concepts they have learned. In class, students do exercises and activities as small groups in breakout rooms. Then they return to the big group to synthesize and wrap up the discussion. The bonus here is that by listening to the students, the teacher is able to identify and address their specific difficulties, which means that better assistance can be provided to those in need of extra help. The last of the synchronous strategies is giving students more project-based activities. How do you do this? The teacher decides on a target authentic project and along the way, through the different lessons and tasks, prepares students for its accomplishment. In the process, the teacher creates ample opportunities for the learners to exercise autonomy in getting the task done. Project-based activities can work well in developing communication skills because students naturally engage themselves in tasks that encourage a more natural and richer exchange of ideas. The added value here is that the more freedom students have to experiment, research, and pursue their interests, the better they will be motivated and have more to share. The clearer the purpose of a project and the more authentic the need to accomplish it is, the more meaningful and relevant it becomes to students. This will definitely help them see the value of the language they are learning to get their project done. Consequently, they develop their communication skills. For asynchronous sessions, Minero suggests the following strategies. First, create back and forth dialogues. What's the procedure for this activity like? The teacher begins with the use of the discussion board for students to respond to readings and discussion prompts. Students then comment and share their ideas. Afterwards, the teacher replies to students' comments and ideas and asks them to respond to at least two of their classmates' ideas. Virtual collaboration boards like Nearpod Collaborate and Flipgrid are suggested by Minero to encourage natural exchange of ideas. Second is the setting up of virtual gallery walks for students to share outputs and do peer feedback. The activity begins with the teacher giving question prompts that will elicit feedback. Next, students present their outputs through a 2 or 3 minute screencast. And afterwards, they use the prompts given by the teacher to give feedback to at least 2 classmates. This gives students the opportunity not only to showcase their works, but also to give and listen to comments that encourage deeper reflection as well as develop their communication skills. Third, conduct carousel or station brainstorming activities. To do this, the teacher creates shared Google Docs or a series of Google Slides for the prompts or questions and divides the class into online groups. The groups will then leave their thoughts under the questions by the assigned day and then respond to the other group's comments the day after. This activity gives students an authentic opportunity to interact with each other. At the same time, it provides some sense of classroom community, albeit in a virtual setting. What else can teachers do to encourage interaction and active student participation in a language classroom? The following activities in the traditional face-to-face classroom may also be utilized. First, set up short speaking activities. Record, then let students view or listen to themselves and their classmates. Second, create information gaps. Have activities that require students to communicate and get information from each other or other sources. Another is the engagement of learners by making them draw from their own experiences, opinions, ideas, things that interest them. The more familiar they are with a topic, the more it is likely that they'll have much to share about it and will be interested to do so. Still another one is make them find online resources to accomplish a purpose during the class. At the same time, teach them research skills that are very much necessary and useful in today's learning context. To wrap up the preceding discussion, here are some key points indicating the crucial role technology now plays in the way we do our job as language teachers. While technology has been widely used, has been a widely used educational tool for quite some time, the currently prevailing situation paved the way for the creation of a major and larger role for technology in our home classroom. Second, with careful planning and decision making, language teaching and learning can be efficiently facilitated despite physical distance. Third, technology's presence in the home classroom will remain in the coming months, perhaps another year. This being the case, its use must be further refined. Next, embrace the change, adjust, go the extra mile to hone your technological and teaching skills. And finally, explore the available tools further, but be cautious and prudent in making choices. AEIOU. What do teachers' virtual classroom experiences and practices reveal? I'd say they speak of teacher power, as demonstrated by their display of the following. A, which stands for agency. Teachers are able to act purposefully and constructively to direct their growth and contribute to the growth of others. E, for empowerment. They take charge and resolve their classroom concerns. I, for initiative and improvement. They exert efforts to grow and become better. O, for opportunities. They recognize and maximize use of chances to enrich the breadth and scope of their experiences. And U, for understanding. They recognize and have a clear grasp of the demands and full worth of the situation. We started this session by looking back. Afterwards, we looked at how some language teachers are currently doing their job. Now, let's wrap up things by looking ahead. I urge you to reflect on the following questions. Answer them after this webinar and use your answers to guide your preparations for the next academic term. First, what have you learned so far from your virtual teaching experiences? Second, what refinements do your current practices need in order to make them better and more suitable for online teaching and learning? Your answers to these questions and your other personal reflections will definitely be enriched by feedback from your students and their parents, as well as by exchanges of virtual classroom experiences with your colleagues. It will be to your advantage if you find out from them what they have in mind. Then consider their views when you plan for the succeeding academic term. Given certain needs that are uniquely true in the Philippine context, the recent news that the dry run of our return to face classes is set in January, and that a vaccine that can protect us from COVID 19 might be available in the country by next year, it's probably not too premature at this point to start imagining and reflecting on possibilities regarding the next normal. So, here are two more questions that you can ponder on. First, how do you imagine the next normal in education, more particularly in language teaching, is going to be? Second, what takeaways from your old and current experiences can help you prepare for the eventual transition to the next normal? As language teachers, we are all dual subject teachers. We play a major role in our students' lives, and we have the all important responsibility to help them develop their communication skills, which is the crucial and important tool that they need in order to do well, not only in school, but more so in life outside of school. Martinez and Cruz categorically identify an important action that we, language teachers, must take. They said, the world has changed. As language teachers, we have found ourselves playing a privileged role in this process. Hence, in order to embrace the change and assure effective teaching and learning, we must learn to unlearn and learn anew. Let us then learn anew our A, E, I, O, U, not as the vowel letters in the alphabet, but as letters that stand for what teachers can continually pursue and embody: agency, empowerment, initiative and improvement, opportunities, and understanding. Through them, let us promote teacher power, the means to education resilience and learning continuity in the time of COVID 19 and beyond. I am Professor Lourdes Baetiong, a faculty of the Language Education area of the College of Education, University of the Philippines, Diliman. A basic education teacher for 25 years at the UP Integrated School, and a full-time tertiary and graduate level professor at the College of Education for nearly 15 years. Sa inyong pagsama sa amin sa gawain ito, maraming salamat at magandang umaga pong muli sa inyong lahat. Good morning once again. Thank you for joining us in this morning's presentation. We have time for a few questions, but while we are waiting for those questions to come in, I'm going to read some comments and messages from our participants this morning. There's one from Rose May Zabala, who is thanking us for this activity, and she says that it's a big help to her teaching online classes. There's another one from Hazel Villa, also thanking the activity, and she's saying that she learned so much and will apply some of the concepts in her virtual classroom. And there's Mia, Miss Kyung Min Bay, thanking me for the AEIOU, which will definitely be, or which is definitely enlightening. And she said she will, she said, we all learned something, meaning that all the participants learned something new again this morning. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that from you, Mia. There's Julianne Tasik, again, expression of thanks for the insightful presentation. Yeah, we all should stay safe. Frida Vera also saying thank you. So teacher power, for the teacher power and the AEIOU Agency Empowerment Initiative and Improvement Opportunities and Understanding. Have a great day, UPC Ed. Our students belong to, whether they belong to Generation X, Y, or Z, AEIOU will apply. More power. Okay, thank you, Portia. Sending all my love. Okay, maraming salamat din sa iyo sa pag-attend ngayong umaga. Si Teacher Dina. How can parents assist their children in the AEIOU? Okay, I think somewhere in the discussion I mentioned that there has to be a close collaboration between teachers and parents. So I think one of the things that teachers can do is to coordinate with them, try to find out how she can establish or how they can establish that close link with the parents so that the teacher can ask for their help. Because the parents also need the agency, right? And they also if teachers can find a way to like conduct some kind of a training, no? Hindi naman talaga yung training like what teachers normally undergo, but some kind of familiarization on how they can be of best help to their children. They may not have enough preparation for the purpose, similar to what teachers do, but if there are simple things that parents can do to help teachers, I think it will help a lot in the students' learning, because they are the ones who provide guidance at home. Kailangan nilang maintindihan itong mga bagay na ito, that they have to work closely with each other. Otherwise, if there's no support at home, the teacher's efforts may not really work the way we want those efforts to work. Talagang strong collaboration between the students are and the other home where the teacher is holding her class. Okay. Sino ito pa? Okay. Aldrin. Parang nakita ko na yata ito kanina. Yeah. Teacher Dina, nasagot ko ba yung tanong mo? Okay, let's see.
Okay, si Mylene Joy Rizaldo says it's informative. Yes, the AEIOU is something that we can put in mind. Yeah. Oh, she was my student in UPIS. Okay. Hi, Mylene Joy. Then Gina Atibagos also thanking me for the presentation. More power, and may God bless you more so that you can continue to help us. Yeah, God bless us all. Yeah, true about support at home. Ang problema lang talaga with the support at home is if let's say the family is really deprived, no resources at all, and the parents did not or the parents hardly went there to intervene so that he or she can elicit the kind of help that is needed from the parents. Actually, maybe it's not just the parents. It's possible that the children or the students have older siblings at home who can provide help. They can also be tapped to provide assistance to their younger siblings. Or sometimes we have extended families. So if the parents cannot provide the help, let's say they also they don't go to work, they stay at home. Some of them go to work physically, but some of them just do their work at home. So there might be other members of the extended family. In other words, the teacher can tap all the people at home who can provide help to the child. Okay. Si Randolph, in this time of pandemic, how would you ensure po the cooperation, collaboration of parents in the IEU? I think there has to be the teacher has to constantly communicate with to keep communication with. It is challenging, but I think that what the teacher can do is to prioritize who are the students who are really in most need of help, and then the teacher can attend to them first, and then follow the list of priorities. But the ones who need help should be on top, of course. And then you address those needs and collaborate with the home of those children more often maybe or more regularly, and then the other children will of course should not be forgotten. They should also be there, but they can the collaboration with the home of their children can come at the lower portion of your priority list. I think the cooperation, collaboration is also a little bit easier to do with the presence of technology nowadays. Because before, I did not experience that either. We would go to the house, we do home visits. Okay? But now, that especially with the pandemic, we did not do home visits, but instead we can just, send a text message or something. Yung mga ganyang simpleng bagay pwede. Okay. Ay, si Teacher Dina. Okay. Si Teacher Portia uli, AEIOU. All right. She changed my words for AEIOU. Kung nabasahin, Teacher Portia. Thank you. Okay, you are welcome. And thank you for the compliments. Okay, lalagpasan ko na. Then, all right, see. ED, I hope I'm pronouncing this name right. ED, Amy Octaviano. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I learned a lot as an educator. Yeah, that's the kind of point of view that we should have, that we are all being educators. We should all the situation may not look good at the moment, but there are a lot of things that we learn along the way. I mentioned at the start of my presentation that we had a lot of misses, we made mistakes, but from those mistakes and misses, we learned something, and we learned not to do them or not to commit those mistakes all over again. And we try to do our best to do much better. Okay, are there more comments? Okay. All right, wala na yatang tanong or comments. So at this point, I would again like to thank everyone who attended this morning session on behalf of the College of Education, on behalf of the Extension Committee that is in charge of this series of webinar presentations, and also on behalf of the area I am representing, the language education area. I would like to thank all of you for joining us this morning, spending part of your Saturday morning with us in order to learn a little something that you can use to prepare yourselves for the coming academic year, or not academic year, coming academic term in January. Okay, so once again, I would like to thank all of you, and I would like to wish everyone happy holidays. Maligayang Pasko po sa ating lahat. Sana po ang taong 2021 ay maging ligtas para sa atin at maging maayos na para sa ating lahat, lalong-lalo na sa educational system ng Pilipinas. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat ulit. May mga susunod pa po, 2 na lamang ang natirang webinar para sa darating na linggo, at may announcement naman, but this last 2 webinars will feature the experts from our special education area and educational technology area. So watch out for those webinar sessions. We hope to see you once again as we finish this second series of webinar sessions. Thank you and bye-bye.